one, any additions to the agenda as it stands? Again, trying to post the agenda, but I can't get the screen to cooperate. I don't know what I'm lacking here. But.
I thought we should, at least talk, for a minute about the town meeting. And what's gonna show up there and what we need to be
absolutely
prepared to do, what we should be planning to do.
We will put that in there. We don't cover it
because we won't meet again before it.
That's true. That's very true. Okay, so has everyone had a chance to read this past month's minutes? Except for Cam.
I just read them.
Oh, you did?
I just read them.
Right.
Yeah, good job, Dave.
Right. I would concur.
Like always.
Yeah. No, it's great. Any additions, deletions, corrections, punctuation corrections? Nothing from anyone. You pass again, man. Past minutes. We're still outstanding January and February. I'm struggling with January. A most depressing meeting. I will have them next time.
Didn't we give him some,
we've got notes. Oh, yeah, tons and tons of notes.
No, didn't we?
There were some, that might have been the February meeting that Mitt took, and then I cleaned up, and then I sent that back to the.
And then I added some more.
That's also January. I've got edits from both of you, but
they're consolidated.
Yeah. But as you say, you get through a little bit, and then you go, I don't know what we were discussing here.
I took those out. I crossed those out. We changed them. We said, here's what we discussed.
That's right. No, you did. It's just, it's a wrestling match, and I apologize. I think it's very important to have these things up to date, and we will get them compiled, and I hope revisit them next time. So we'll just jump right in. We've got funding updates and thank you notes. And I got to tell you, thanks to Rob, thanks to Dave, thanks to Steve, we have formatted a couple of notes of thanks that go out to the town select board and also Jim Duggan, town administrator, as well as for thanking them for everything they've helped with this entire year, going way back to August, probably before that, where they really took an interest, and with Rob's prodding from the outside, really came through for us. Created some funds, created some accounts for us that were not here before. So it gives me hope for the future. And hey, speaking of select board members, Karen, now were your ears burning?
Right. Start digging.
We were saying, don't know quite how you stand it at this point after all the financial gymnastics you guys have to go through and all of that, but we're glad you're here. So,
may I?
Absolutely, please. So just recounting that we have a couple of thank yous that we're going to send out to the select board, to Jim Duggan, also to Park and Rec for everyone's efforts to help us financially this year. And really push it down. Yeah, well, it's coming. It's long overdue.
And Ryan.
What's that?
And Ryan.
And Ryan, of course, yes. We understand is moving on.
I was going to say you'll have to move quickly.
Moving up, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
He's going to Concord.
Isn't that everyone's aspiration?
Right, that's what I said.
Now, Karen, you're not moving anytime. we gotta hold on to what's ours here, but no, we'll be punching those up just a little bit more. And I don't know if we want to use our letterhead, which is a little funny with the floating boat and the little lake and so on, but we'll put something together, and I'll run it around some people before we send it off. And we'll take it from there. Also, with regard to funding, I think this was not clarified last meeting. If I'm correct, changes have been made to the $15,000 that the select board has designated for us. That makes those funds immediately accessible. For the longest time, it was the sort of thing where they were trying to have it in a revolving fund. But the revolving fund was only accessible with the permission of the town at an annual meeting. So if we wanted to have access to those $15,000, we'd have had sort of as much as a year in advance to figure things out, to put it all down. Since then, Ryan has discovered that there are ways, and we do have a fund now. What we're calling it fund, that's just the lakes fund, the town lake fund, anyway. The big bottom line is that it's accessible to us now.
It's called the Long Lake Revolving Fund.
It's
Yeah,
not, that's
Stabilization
Parks and Rec.
fund?
This is it's not a stabilization fund. It started out as a stabilization fund, but that
Yeah.
put us out of reach. That made it so that we couldn't, access it. And, I think it's in your minutes there.
I think
From
it's that
last month.
stabilization in the minutes. 'Cause I just-
It may need. to be
We had a
changed. This
meeting
might be
after
the
that.
last
So
meeting.
that's what I was saying, but I didn't know if those, the name of that fund was mentioned there. But anyway, it's the town
Report to see what we're calling
funding
it.
from the Long Lake, or from the Clean Lakes.
It's not a fund.
It's a Clean Lakes
It was
Committee.
originally conceived as a revolving fund, but
Mhm.
legal indicated there'd be need, so generic warrant article is created for Clean Lakes Committee water body maintenance. Once the funds have been allocated, the funding can be spent over a period of 3 fiscal years, requires no further town meeting actions prior to being spent.
Excellent.
So we don't have to, the stabilization fund required us to go back to town meeting and say, we want to spend it for this.
And
But this gives us the 3 years, but it doesn't require any more going back.
you went through a long back and forth with
Ryan.
with Ryan, sorting out exactly what funds we're aware of, because we've been conjoined with Highway Department in some areas, and then CPC in other areas, and it all is kind of it got jumbled together.
So we have 15,000 from this operating, this Clean Lakes Committee water body maintenance.
Mhm.
We have 10,000 in the operating budget, which goes formally into the DPW budget, but is doesn't have to be spent for the DPW. It's just
It's
for us to
just
spend.
there. That's the bucket.
So it's 15,000 we can spend over 3 years, 10,000 we have to spend in the next fiscal year. We have 108,500 from the water department, mainly for a spectral pond,
Mhm.
which also has to be spent in the next fiscal year. And then we have 2 CPC funding items, 30,000 for spec pond boat launch and 80,000 for eco harvesting in Mattawamkeag.
And as of the last Park and Rec meeting.
Yeah.
We've got they're adding the surcharge that has long been discussed, but never happened until their last meeting, which they voted for effective fiscal year 26, which means the coming season.
Right. And it's a $1?
$1 per membership in the form of a $5 fee for family memberships, $2 fee for senior couples, and it had some cascading with regard to some other, one-offs, but, expected to generate in excess of $1,000, maybe as much as $3,000, but not an outright dollar value, rather whatever the money comes in, that will be separately segregated to the revolving fund that is also part of Ryan's and other people's efforts with regard to getting it into an article for town vote.
Without a doubt. Now, Rob, you would know, this is for memberships at the beach, or does this
It's part of
include,
it-
does
it's
this
part of the
include
beach
camp
operation.
to Hattawan as well, or?
It does not. It
Okay.
specifically did not go there, as I know I've addressed with you and Dave in terms of how I'm,
It's baby step.
it was a missed opportunity.
It's not.
It could be.
It could be in the
And we
future.
can follow up with them.
You should, I encourage Clean Lakes to have dialogue with Park and Rec.
Right.
And
Sure.
as you're already saying in this meeting tonight, you intend to send a letter of thank you and a statement in it. And that letter speaks to future collaboration. And I think that's the path that I hope you'll go.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
So it's strictly $1 per beach membership.
It's a $5 for family membership.
Okay,
You can, I could do a little bit more for you to be more detailed if you really want to get that detailed. I think the important aspect is that 2 meetings ago, Park and Rec the commissioners committed to, in some way, somehow, to be determined.
Hmm.
They were going to provide Clean Lakes with an ongoing funding source that in effect dovetails and feeds right into the article that Ryan was creating with the creation of a revolving fund. You need to have an ongoing source of revenue in order to sustain that concept of revolving fund. Now, in the most recent meeting, through their action with this $1 per membership concept, they in fact have filled in the blank with regard to how they're going to go about on a, at least for this year, but the conversation was such, and Mark Rombacher was there in the meeting and assisted their development of this concept to proceed in future years. I think it's extremely to be expected that this is a commitment that is going to be sustained over the coming years.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, it started out as just voluntary, sort of, anybody wants to
And
make a
that,
contribution to the lake.
and that was discussed.
Yeah, sure.
And that was where I think Mark and Saul Marini were quite pivotal with regard to changing the course of the discussion to what's been said as the dollar membership.
Yeah. Well, I know it didn't come easily. And I know, an awful lot of effort on your behalf over the past year, at least.
Yeah, a lot of,
So
lot
it's, yeah, we appreciate that and, we hope
Mhm.
to grow that. So we'll see
What's
where
it
that.
cost for a beach membership anyways?
either $100 or $120 for a family of 5, $25 for a senior couple. There's other, they've got very unique, there's a half dozen.
So what's that mean? I couldn't, so say I was parked at John's house and I walked over and I got on the beach, could I do that?
Not for long.
Not during,
They'd single you out and ask if you had, membership.
Really?
Yes.
not during, basically lifeguard hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is why all the locals just wait until after lifeguard hours.
But you
to
can go in,
beach.
you can pay for a single day pass.
Sure. And we're pushing
That's
at
why I
the
never
Long
went
Lake
there.
Neighborhood Association to get the locals to, in fact, commit, and buy a pass this year because some of it goes to the lake. And also commit some of our dues annually. So we'll see if that could be added to the revolving fund as well. So we'll grow this by little drips and drabs.
If you go over to Forge Beach, you can walk in and do nothing, no
That's right.
charge.
But you have to go to Westford.
Yeah.
It's a great setup. It's a real asset. So I've never been there. Walked the train tracks, but that's about it.
Nice.
You don't even know what happens when you walk the train track.
Well, it's active. I didn't realize that there was actually there trains
Someone
go
was recently killed there, right?
rumbling through.
No, she drowned herself.
She drowned herself. Okay, that's the
She
story.
took a swim.
No way.
Yeah.
She tried to kill herself beforehand though, a week before.
Thanks.
So she walked down to the spot where the rope swing area, but I don't think she's rope swinged in, but. And she went out, swam. I don't know how she could do it. I was in the water yesterday up to my knees and it was. I said,
Cold
"No
enough,
way,
huh?
No way.
Yeah, you got those polar bear types. So, hey, we're moving on. Mass DEP minor dredging permit application, the due diligence section. I got an email from Lisa, who had a work commitment tonight. She couldn't attend, but she says she's got this thing almost together. And so I hope to meet with her, not this weekend, but next week at some point.
Great.
And we'll probably send it off to Tim Pearson to see if he wants to tweak it one way or the other, and then we'll set up a meeting with David Long.
What
a
does,
Zoom
what
meeting.
does it comprise?
It is the due diligence, what is it, DDR, due diligence review, I believe. And it is a summation, historical summation of each lake. We're including Speck Pond, of course, Forge Pond, Long Lake, Dolphin Pond, and Mill Pond. And any outstanding problems that the lake has in terms of weird deposits. We had a report of DDT or something like that.
PCBs in Mill Pond.
PCBs, that's what it is. Yeah, PCBs. PCBs in Mill Pond years and years ago.
PFAS?
So, yeah, PFAS is not, this was before that. before.
No,
PFAS was even an issue.
I'm,
But I don't know that we can even determine if we have PFAS in any of our lakes.
There's-
But,
PFAS in the Spectre Pond well, right?
PFAS in drinking water.
It's in the groundwater.
It's in the
Yeah,
groundwater.
yeah, it's all present. It's in our bodies. It's, you know,
Yeah,
Was there, so I can't tell from the notes, but after, so I was at the DCR meeting whenever that
last
was,
month.
and then you guys met the next day, which I couldn't come to that. And they were kind of saying like herbicides the way to go and this eco harvesting stuff. Was there any decision made here about what we're doing? It sounds like we're just moving ahead with eco harvesting.
we have no choice. We have Spec Pond unless we can convince the water department that there is no issue
Right.
ever with chemical treatments.
And is that a route we're gonna pursue? Because DCR seemed pretty negative about eco
Yeah,
harvesting.
Their experience, which is not
Yeah.
surprising.
Yeah.
That seems to be kind of the routine, but I don't know, I think we're still gonna pursue this.
Yeah, it's on the table as far as.
I would say it's an open issue as to what the best approach is.
Yeah,
And so we're leaving all of our options at
Okay.
this point. I think DCR had, from what they described, they had limited experience with it, more like,
yeah,
didn't have any direct experience with it themselves. They have a lot of experience with herbicides, and so they,
right.
were,
And there's all kinds of mechanical harvesting. This isn't just exclusively eco harvesting that they were discussing, I don't think. And again, I think that needs to be zeroed in on. And we'll get to some new questions for round two on that as well, because that's coming up. I'd like to discuss as much as we can. We've got another hour session with them on the 25th.
week from tomorrow,
What's that? Yes.
23rd.
23rd.
23rd, is it? Yeah.
I can't make that one. Will you record it? Was it
I
recorded?
do have it.
No, it wasn't recorded last time.
It was recorded last time.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, Tim recorded it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah, as part of a conscom
Oh, cool.
meeting, so
Yeah.
Can we try and record this one? Because I won't be able to.
it will be
I won't
recorded. This will be
there.
recorded.
Rob has his hand up. Well.
Yeah, if I can.
Hi, Rob. Oh, I'm sorry.
I know I distributed the draft that just came out of the Mass Guide to Lake Management, or Mass GLM as it's being referred to. There are pages devoted to so many aspects of lake management. And in response to Cammie, to your statement, whereas Dave's, I won't debate your comment with regard to DCR's personal experience, but they go extensively into very specific lakes with regard to history, if you will, of their efforts. And my reading,
Mechanical harvesting.
which I've distributed to John, and I think he's distributed
Yeah,
to all of you.
yeah.
I encourage you to read it because it is quite critical of mechanical harvesting. I read it as it in effect is basically saying you have momentary satisfactory results, but in fact you are populating your lakes with greater volumes of the nuisance plants that, the milfoils and so forth that you're trying to eradicate. So it seems to be, from my take, something that you should consider whether it's adequate body of professional experience and knowledge on which to base.
Right,
some
that was one lake.
No, there's many.
Well, their big description over pages was one lake.
But there are several lakes and several mechanical harvesting
Right,
experience. So
right.
my purpose is not to
Oh, no, it's fine.
delay this meeting into a discussion of that, just to make it known to Cammie, who I didn't know if she was familiar, because you were asking, where are we going? I would encourage you to read that document
Yeah.
with whatever volumes, because it's a volume.
Yeah, it was a little
whatever portions you
daunting.
want to-
did.
Well, while we're
So
touching on that,
with regard to that,
Yeah.
the mechanical harvesting they talked about didn't include eco harvesting. It was only scissor harvesting.
Oh,
Would-
well,
would
and
be
that of
horrible.
course would be,
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah. So they didn't,
So I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing, even on our meeting, and I don't know, I haven't looked at the book yet.
no, it doesn't have anything
I've
about
reviewed
eco
the book.
harvesting. It's all scissor harvesting.
But the point is that we have until, May
Beginning,
15th,
yeah.
for public comment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we see something in there that,
See something,
and I
say
haven't been
something.
through it all, but I guess I distributed it just today. And thank you, Rob, for lead-in for that. Let's take a look at that and maybe we'll get together, before the next meeting, and submit something if it's something we want to
Right,
respond to.
right. So, yeah, just in that regard, none of these options available are silver bullets,
No.
right? We have pros and cons for all of them. Some of them we have experience with, like herbicides. DCR says this is the perfect thing, you should definitely use it. But we have experience ourselves that where it works short term but has issues long term. We have lake managers that have that same experience. And similarly, different experience with drawdowns, with mechanical harvesting. So we're looking at all of those, and part of the reason for developing these lake management plans is to get more information and more guidance, professional guidance on, what our options are, what the likely options that we should be, pursuing. And at the same time, we're trying some of these things ourselves to see what is our experience.
And we're leery. We've been leery for years as well. We at Spec Pond, at Doleful, and at Long Lake, we've used herbicides for 18 years now or something like that. And with varying success, it doesn't go away. And I'll tell you right from the outset, this isn't an eradication. It's more or less a management issue, and they'll see you again. But it has been our concern that the accumulation of debris that is added to the bottom of the lake annually with the herbicides is something we'd like to address, and especially at Long Lake because it turns over so rarely. It takes about 3/4 of a year to refresh itself because it's just inflows from seepage for the most part. There's no river, there's no spring, there's nothing that feeds Long Lake. So the accumulation of debris on the bottom is something that is it's a constant worry.
Mhm.
So,
Well, and that's eutrophication.
And
precisely.
to that end, some of you know, I attended the SISMA
Mhm.
meeting that was approximately 3 weeks ago. And Tom Flannery from DCR, who was on the call but didn't take a prominent role in the first DCR call, he was essentially the sole speaker for almost 2 hours. And among the many things that I heard, and I encourage you to consider dialogue, as I've written to you, John, with regard to getting Tom to speak. He articulates that herbicide treatments have evolved over many, many years, and that with regard to eutrophication, their experience is that herbicide application for approximately 1/4 of a lake is the way to go, with positive results seen that don't lead to eutrophication. And then he goes on with regard to he and Jim, another of the 4 DCR employees, then do diving in these lakes, and after the herbicide treatment, they see the growth of native plants that are very short in stature and effectively form a carpet that then effectively suppress the regeneration or the reemergence, if you will, of the milfoils and the fanworts, et cetera. So just mention it briefly to say some of the questions I heard you discuss with regard to DC, our call at the last meeting, and some of what I just heard here tonight. I think if you engage in them and hit them directly, you might be able to receive their perspectives with clarity far greater than I can give, and I think they may be of interest to you.
Well, I'd love to eradicate some of our invasives, but boy, 18 years we haven't done it. Has not happened, and I don't think it's just coming in by poke. I just think they're there. It has not been eradicated by any amount of herbicides. So again, no silver bullet. that's the gig. So, anyway, we're talking about herbicide treatments. Dave filed an amendment,
You mean 2025 herbicide treatments?
fiscal year 2025.
Oh, the ones we're doing in June?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, moving on from our due diligence review. FY 25 herbicide treatments. Dave compiled wow, what a document. That's a request for inclusion of herbicides at Forge Pond.
Right.
Geez, you put that together, it's just like a masterpiece.
We had to submit one to Littleton Clean
Yeah,
Conservation Commission and one to Westford Conservation
yeah,
Commission.
and this is from the Friends of Forge Pond.
It's submitted by the Clean Lakes Committee and the Friends of Forge Pond. The work is, and costs are all from the Friends of Forge Pond.
Mm.
Yeah, but we're submitting it from the Clean Lakes Committee / Friends of Forge Pond.
Wow, it's dynamite document, and we're requesting assistance from the water department. That letter went out today to Nick Lawler and Matt Silverman.
We're looking for their help in bidding it and contracting it.
Yeah, because I should go into it now. I called Solitude just for kicks, and assuming that they're going to be the guys who are going to be doing the job. And it took them a long time to find us. They said, we have a long lake in Minnesota. I said, oh, nah, you're getting closer, you're getting warmer.
Talk to Dominic.
No, I didn't talk to Dominic. I just phoned them. I didn't request anyone because I haven't had contact. It's all been through the water department.
Okay.
And I said, Littleton Electric Light and Water Department. Okay, there's a Littleton, Colorado. Right. We're really starting at the start here. I said, I just wanted to give you a heads up.
It's a big company.
It's a massive company. But they said, have you worked with us before? I said, yes, for about 18 years. Past 2 years, we've been doing eco harvesting. That dropped like a lead balloon. But anyway, there's another guy who's going to contact. I said, just keep the contact with the water department. We'll be following up. We'll be putting out an invitation for bid and just be forewarned. I said, probably looking for services end of May, first week of June at the earliest. And he says, oh, that far out? No problem. So I asked about Trimarine. He says, oh, well, let me write that down. So he writes down that we're interested in Trimarine. I couldn't get numbers out of him to save my soul. Probably wouldn't, but they will be consulting with us at each lake and telling us all about the advantages.
So one of us could get in touch with the people at Solitude that normally work with these lakes and get him a heads up. And when we get Nick to say yes, here's your contact on doing it, we can put the two of them together.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a comical phone call. I enjoyed it.
It's good.
And it's just like, wow.
No, I mean, we definitely should be getting on their radar. We should let them know that we're going to be applying this, especially since we have a specific window in which we have to have it done in.
Precisely. Yeah.
Just a question if I can.
Sure.
I know I watched Dave.
Yeah.
So are you going to be on the next Tuesday CONSCOM agenda with regard to the request to expand the existing order of conditions or whatever the right term of the document is? Yeah, to amend, because you definitely, I was alarmed with regard to the opposition I heard to even consider a new plan or an amended plan, and seeing Sarah and Carl vote against even the amendment suggests.
So let me just, that's good. So let me just kind of give you a quick, so we had, because we're asking for a change in what we're already doing for the lake management, we have two choices. We could either ask to amend our existing order of conditions for Forge Pond Lake Manawanaki, which is drawdowns and, plant harvesting, right? To include herbicides, and aquicides, algicides.
Mhm.
Or we could, be asked to, create a new order of conditions, and we'd have a new separate set of, a new notice of intent, which would lead to a separate order of conditions. We have to get their guidance on whether they think the change is significant enough that we can't amend the existing order of conditions, but would require a new notice of intent. And we had this, so we had meetings with Westford and Littleton. Westford's was like 3 weeks ago, and it was like very, okay, good, yeah, we should. The rationale for amending is that it gives us an umbrella lake management plan process, and it's all on the same, only one set of things that have to be tracked and extended, that kind of thing. But like Rob said, 2 of the 6 members for Littleton Conservation Commission were not willing to let us amend it. I'm not exactly sure why. My sense is that maybe they weren't sure how much information we would be providing as an amendment, and they wanted a full scale, review of this. But whether it's amendment or a separate notice of intent, either case, we have a complete narrative about it. We have to notify all the abutters. We have to put in legal notice in the papers. We have to notify DEP. We have to actually notify 2 DEP regional offices because the lake's in 2 different DEP regions. And we have to notify Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program in order to do it. So everybody in the state is looking at this and has to give review before they can get approval. I think they might have assumed that as an amendment, we wouldn't have to go through all that, and they wanted to have a complete review. I'm hoping that's the case. If it's not, then that would indicate that they are resistant to doing herbicide treatments, which would be surprising to me because
I've been doing it so long over there.
we've
Lake.
we've been doing it for years on Long Lake. We've been doing it for years on Speckle Pond. They've been doing it for years on Fort Pond, right?
Ask Sarah about that, right?
Has Westford done treatments?
Yeah, Westford has
Forge Pond?
about, no, they haven't done it on Forge Pond,
Okay.
but they've
He said
done it on.
Fort Pond,
Oh, Fort Pond.
so
Fort
Fort Pond,
Pond.
and that's why he said Sarah,
Oh,
she
okay.
lives on Fort Pond.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
They rule
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
pond, they do whatever they want up there.
Well,
That's why she's
it's
on conservation.
Private, so, yeah.
Well, I mean, they get permits for it, but they've been given permits for it. So,
So will you be asking on
Presumably.
Tuesday will you be presenting on Tuesday? Because
yeah, we're showing up Tuesday to do it, yeah.
you need their approval on Tuesday in order to proceed with.
We won't get their approval on Tuesday because, before they can rule, or before they can, vote, they have to get the, input from the comments from DEP, and they have to get the comments from Natural Heritage. And both of them, we sent Natural Heritage, we spent, 2 weeks ago, it was sent. And we couldn't send it to DEP until we had the meeting last week.
So the
So
following.
the next day, I sent it to DEP, but both of those will take a month. So it'll be it'll be early May before they hear back from them. So it'll be the late May meeting when we will presumably get approval.
And you'll need that in order to.
We have to have that
apply the
before we
money
can,
Before you can do the June
right,
work.
yeah.
Of herbicide treatment,
Right.
should you prefer to go there.
Well, that's the only time we can spend the money, so. And formally, you have to wait 10 days before you can do it because there's a 10-day appeal period.
Thanks. I just want to make sure everybody knew how critical the timeline is.
Yeah.
And your efforts to get this done.
Yeah, so that was the reason to get it in,
It's a dance.
yeah. So, yeah, so we go Tuesday to Littleton, we go Wednesday to Westford to, present the case. And, if they have concerns, we'll have to come back the next time to address them. If they're okay with it and they're just waiting for any concerns from DEP Natural Heritage, then we'll wait,
Bombs away.
you know.
Now, when is our dredge permit up?
We won't,
Not dredge, when is our, drawdown permit up? Is this
uh,
why they maybe want us to umbrella it?
well, so that was, Matt Salem's suggestion is to umbrella it in 2 years ago when we added the plant harvesting. So that everything gets all done at once. We don't have to keep track of all the things separately. Our dredging, our drawdown and, plant harvesting is maybe 26 or 27. So we're
I'm
watching.
just asking,
Yeah.
maybe we only have 1 year left of drawdown.
Oh, when we go for an extension, we have to do a formal request. We have to get Natural Heritage again. But, we don't necessarily need, DEP. So it should be a straightforward thing. Yeah,
Good.
but that's part of the rationale for putting them all together.
Just asking.
Yeah. And if we get something more for benthic mats, we'll put that in with it too.
Is that contract gonna go through water?
The herbicide?
Mhm.
Well, that's what,
Yeah, that's our,
Don
that's
was
our
asking-
request of Nick right
that's what he was
now.
asking yesterday.
To see if they can head that up because they've done so, for the 18 years that we've done it.
And we don't have a staff person that could do it for us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so on that note, I did ask Jim to confirm that you'll have a contact at the water's gonna carry us through, or you through, the fall. And so,
Oh, okay.
and,
As a liaison or just?
yep,
Oh,
he'll be the POC, Nick will. So he'd like
oh,
everything to go through him.
okay.
And, yeah, he's committed to do that,
that's
through the
good.
summer.
All right.
And then
Because he alluded to
hopefully,
that in the past, but again, talking to Tim, he's like, well, when the moment he gets an assistant, he'll be thinking of maybe finding, somebody who's a candidate for a liaison for us.
so I think the long-term plan is that, or medium term, is that,
The latest.
is that once Nick's, in the fall, Nick will roll off and, conservation will be taking over.
Oh,
And any coordination then would
That's
be
an update.
between
So,
conservation and water.
our understanding
I
was
think.
that the, statement of, of work for the new assistant conservation agent did not include, Clean Lakes liaison.
Right, we're working on that.
Okay.
And I honestly don't know where it is exactly right now. There's been a little bit of, oh, but we're right in the middle of the interviews. Oh, but it doesn't have, back and forth. But everybody is, on board with getting, conservation to have lakes in their wheelhouse.
Oh, that would be a good
Yes, we're trying to give the
match.
That makes
lakes
sense.
a professional
Yeah,
town competency.
And does
you
that
know?
say that whatever budget Lakes gets becomes part of the line item for conservation?
Probably. Except for what water is doing.
so that's
on their
something that we'd have to work out next year.
It'd be nice if we could articulate some clear and convincing justification for boosting conservation's budget.
Mhm. No, I don't, if the question is, are you gonna have to sort of fight over conservation's existing budget and try to get them to allocate some to lakes.
It's gonna be.
That's not the plan. Yeah,
I think what
exactly.
she's saying is anything that's allocated will probably go through conservation.
Right, but it won't be. If conservation has 100 and you have 20 right now, then conservation would have 120 next year. Not that you guys have to try to get some sort of funding out of 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that won't work. We need the amount of conservation we've got, so we don't want
Right.
to cut that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they would be the first to agree with that.
That's good news.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. we're
That's
working
great
hard on that.
thinking.
Mhm.
Glad to hear. Get the last word from Tim and then, well, things change from month to month.
They do. They
Which is good,
do.
which
Things
is
are,
good.
things are
In
fluid.
fact, we're delighted that we're now a topic of concern.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I ask one other thing?
Mhm,
You said that interviews were underway now.
mhm.
So has the role defined, is the definition changed so that this is now included in there?
I'm not that far in the weeds on it.
We could ask Tim,
You could, yeah. I don't know what the latest and greatest
Okay.
is.
right?
It was sort of like, well, let's do it this way. And then I was like, oh, but we've already started the interviews, so we don't want to be,
Yeah.
let's see who comes in, let's see what they're willing to do, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh,
And then it was, and then I don't know what happened after that, whether they, what they thought after the interview process of what the chances are
okay,
or what the prospects are, so.
okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to pursue somehow, reaching out to the CPC, Community Preservation Committee, to see if we can allocate some of the remaining floating island funds that were not used. See if that can be appropriated for herbicide treatments at Long Lake this year. Under the extenuating circumstances, of course, that we're applying for this dredging permit and we'll have any other means of addressing treating the invasives. So I don't know, last time we talked about this a little bit last month with Mitt. And he was gonna bring it up at the meeting. He was thinking it wasn't really done very often, but maybe you don't have extenuating circumstances too often, so I'm gonna.
So you reach out to them first and then if they're,
I'm gonna talk to Mitt and see if it came up at the meeting. I didn't watch, I wasn't involved at the last month's CPC meeting, but.
Rob's shaking his head no.
It did not,
Did not come up.
it did not, and be aware that they meet tomorrow night.
Oh, it's tomorrow?
It's not on the agenda.
Well, it wouldn't be on the agenda. It
So-
was just,
So
it was just gonna
so
be on the
To be
side.
clear, as Cammy, I was shaking my head.
Yeah.
I'm a bad poker player. It wasn't discussed during that meeting, nor does it appear on the agenda. Not to say that you can't
It wouldn't,
ask
Yeah.
Carolyn, et cetera,
Yeah.
Andrew, for some time
for sure.
during their meeting, but that's to say the agenda is posted
Mhm.
and they meet tomorrow night.
well, and if they were agreeable, we could still go to the May meeting and ask them to agree to that.
Mhm.
And that would be before we need to spend, well, that money we can spend anytime. We wouldn't have to do it in June.
It's just, you'd wanna do treatments in June.
Yeah.
So,
And if we're having them here, it makes sense
Yeah.
to
So that's on me. So I gotta get on that. Spectacle Pond Lake Management Plan. I've seen some emails back and forth between you
Yeah.
and Matt.
Yeah,
Thanks for
Matt
having me.
Silverman has forwarded my description of the management plan as well as the boat launch ask to TRC.
Excellent, excellent.
Which is good because we use them.
Yeah.
Actually, we used Carl Nielsen, who's now with TRC in the past. Yeah, so hopefully that we'll get some movement there. And I think I'm just gonna directly connect with Carl Nielsen
Good,
and grease the skids for the whole thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, they need to be aware that we have time-sensitive funded.
yeah, it was in the statement of work, if you will. about that, but it's best to just call these guys up and
Mhm.
express our concerns.
That's great, that's great.
So Carl is the one that did it last time?
He, with ESS 25 years ago, did a management plan for Stecker Pond. And he is the head shirt honcho project management guy.
So,
He may not be directly involved, but some of his underlings,
He works for TRC now.
yeah.
TIC?
TRC.
CRC, yeah.
Yeah.
So, my understanding is that, we would need to get 3 quotes, or we need to request 3 quotes. Whether we get them or not, as long as we request them and they say we can't give it to you, or they say here it is. That's the requirement if it's more than $10,000. If it's more than 50, we have to bid. So even though you've got 60,000, right? It probably makes sense to keep it under 50.
Well, or you're going to separately ask for a management plan for Manawanaki Forge?
I'm talking about yours.
Oh, for me?
Yeah,
Oh, you're saying we have to get 3 quotes? This
yeah.
is-
If it's more than 10,000, you need
No,
to
no.
get 3 quotes.
This has nothing to do with a request for proposal or anything.
Matt made it clear. in
Nothing.
Emails, if I read correctly,
Yeah.
that, the pursuit of one firm who's had an interest in the lake is completely legitimate at this point.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not what he told us
Yeah,
It
before.
was very surprising. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Leon was like, really?
Well, there is something about, municipal, municipals are allowed to, if it's follow-up for a previous
Right.
Contract and you're making use of, what the previous contractor learned, it, in some cases, can be allowed to have be a single source,
Mhm.
solicitation.
Well, we certainly yield to their expertise, and I'm delighted that Matt was able to come through.
That's ruling. He's the one that's going to sign the,
Yeah, right, right.
And can you
Check.
spend your full amount, or do you need to keep it under 50?
we have 67 in the kitty.
Right, what he told us before was if it's more than 50, you'll have to bid it out.
That was not clear from what he
So you
said.
maybe should check on that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was 2 separate projects, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's two
There's the
separate.
30,000 project at the boat launch, but that's CPC.
Mm-hmm.
We have
This is-
67 that we'd like to, that we
Spend.
could apply to the lake management plan.
Ballparking, it's the TRC, Carl Nielsen said probably 30,000 for a management plan.
Mhm.
Okay,
So I don't think I'm gonna chew up the whole 67,000, but if we hit that boundary,
as
yeah,
long as you can get it done, that's fine.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But that needs to be effectively done by the end of June.
Yeah, they need to have a boat out on the pond in early May.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Or front loaded, or structured in such a way that the funds are expended, even if the work isn't quite complete.
Yes,
You pay them and then they come the next week.
Yeah, but Nick knows.
Yeah.
Nick is
Sure they
aware of all the
That's the way you work.
budget
That's the
constraints.
way we work.
and in addition to that, independent
Or
of
not.
the funding and spending the money, we need to get out on the pond to have a look-see at the curly leaf.
Hmm.
It's going to start blooming here pretty soon, so, yeah.
It already is at Jones.
Say again,
It's already at Jones. It's
curly leaf, you think it's there
Yeah,
already?
we were just at her house and it was already blowing in the wind.
Oh, cool,
Nope.
It's already up.
yeah.
It's
So,
up.
Yeah,
so they gotta get out there, is what I'm saying.
yeah.
But that's also that shallow part.
Mhm.
Right
Yes,
there, it's that really shallow part,
yeah,
right?
the funny thing is, the real infestation is in the northern lobe. They're very, very thick, high biomass. But if some is distributed around the rest of the pond, yeah, I can believe that easily, yeah. Good,
Well,
Now
at
we-
this point, we're looking forward to a year from now at Spec Pond.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be like a battlefield.
we will see, we will see. Steve had
Good thing there's some.
hypothesized that if we had a decent snow cover, that might in fact affect the growth,
Mhm.
and we're gonna find out imminently
Right,
as surveys are
could
done.
be real interesting to see.
We will, yes.
Mhm.
Now, did you have a drawdown too? And how far did it go?
Yeah, we do
Not as.
we remove 2 18-inch stop logs. it's nothing.
Oh,
It's
oh,
nothing
okay.
for a drawdown.
That's 3 feet.
Sorry, 18-inch total, 2 9-inch stop
Oh,
logs.
oh,
Yeah,
Okay, so you really didn't have anything like we did,
no,
Yeah, we had a good drawdown this year.
yeah,
And ice out, right?
And
Like,
a nice
lot of
ice and
ice,
snow
yeah.
cover.
Yeah, a lot of ice.
it was 2 feet. Yeah,
Let's hope
That's the
it's-
first time in a long time.
wow.
there was
Look at
cars
you
out there.
You got 24 inches someplace.
Mhm.
Somebody
You had
all got
cars?
24 inches.
Yep, we had
On
a
Forge?
truck.
Yeah.
And we had a Jeep.
Good.
And they're now at the
No, no, they drove off, and that was down the other end that froze last.
Wow.
So I know for a fact we were flooding the ice, and we had a 24-inch bar, and we went down with the chainsaw, and it went right to the bottom. It
Nice.
just made it
Oh,
at 24 inches.
Now, how much shoreline did you open up
Ooh,
as a result of the
the
drawdown?
whole lake.
the whole lake. Well, no, no. What do you think? We went out 10 feet? from
Depends
the-
on how, I mean.
Depending on how,
Where?
how steep
Yeah.
it
in front of
was.
me, it went out 10 feet.
Okay,
Yeah, we were out 20, 30 feet.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it went out 60 feet in the shallow area.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Oh, at,
I mean, that
at
whole
the,
leg.
at the outlet, it was probably 200 feet,
Yeah.
150 feet.
Well,
No
straight across
kidding.
from me, in
Nice.
that shallow, it's really a
Oh,
wet.
yeah. So, I mean, it all depends. So
Sure.
the lake level dropped, by 5 feet.
That's the most impressive, I can remember.
drawdown.
It's the best we've done,
This was
really,
the
since
beach,
I've
the
lived there
outlet.
14 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wow.
that's good.
and we
That's
were in
That's
a
out-
moderate drought
I
at the
wasn't
same
even on the
time,
shore.
so. That's
On
another
the
contributory
jetty.
factor, I guess, to that.
It was cold, which helped a lot.
Cold too, yeah,
Mhm.
so that's the
we'll see.
way out.
So, you know,
Is that the
Yeah.
dam at the Abbott
Yeah.
Mill end?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
wow.
That goes up. to
something
there.
we might want to consider, not this year, but in some
Yeah, right
time
up
in
to
the
there.
future. You know, DEP, allows
really was
any herbicides except for, 2,4-D and dicot, I think.
No, Dicot's okay too. It's
Uh,
just 2,4-D, I think.
I think there's 2 of them, but
might be another,
basically 2,4-D. If it's not one of those, then they allow it to be used, near municipal wells.
Mhm.
So we could, at some point in the future, pick that question up with the water department.
It, seems like a pretty strong wall against that right now, but
Yeah, and it's, something that probably would need some time to work through.
I'll, despite all the evidence to the contrary, I've always been leery of the long-term effects of herbicide treatments.
Well, that's
Just
the,
can't help
yeah,
but think something that we don't know about is happening. You don't know. Maybe nothing's happening. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a science guy, but,
yeah, I mean, there are definite issues with using it long-term just on the effect of plant
Sure.
ecology.
still, better living through science.
John, do you go swimming in the lake?
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
just wondering.
Yeah.
You go out there.
Mostly kayaking.
Do you go
I'm not
out there
avid
and just
swimmer.
swim out?
I go to the beach and, you wade out,
You'd have to wait
you
up the whole way.
way out, way, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
I'm just asking if you use the beach.
I swim.
Yeah,
Do you?
we did,
Yeah.
did the aerobic exercises one time. Just signed up for that. That was fun.
My
I had
kids
to- I had to
don't
get
like
way
it.
out. The whole group was like, in a cluster, and I was like, another
They don't
50 feet.
go-
Pass the buoys.
Camp
What are we doing now?
counselors at Camp Tea this summer, and they have
Speak
to,
up.
so. But my daughter says like Long Lake is really gross. The lifeguards all tell you how gross it is, and
But it
kids
doesn't
get
seem that way.
UTIs all the
It's
time
not-
who go to
it's-
camp
Depends
there.
depends on where you're standing.
Oh,
Gracious.
So, the beach gets a lot of use though, so it's just-
I'm just asking you. We're all
Yeah.
here. And I was wondering, do you swim? I know these two swim.
Mhm.
When
My
it gets
husband
warm,
swims in Long Lake every summer.
Huh?
I
My
swim
husband
every
swims
day.
in-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me, my husband and my dog and the paddle boards every day.
That's
Nice.
dynamite.
That's awesome.
Her
Yeah.
little life
We got
jacket.
people that go across the lake
Yeah.
every
His
week.
wife,
And,
his
yeah,
wife,
yeah,
him, right?
that's-
You do that too?
I don't swim across, Becky swims back and forth across
Yeah,
the South Bay.
Wow.
And, once or twice a summer, she swims all the way over to the Westford Beach.
yeah.
Wow.
And your wife, same
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I take lunch to them when they get over there and then they swim there.
Hey, I've got the second CLC, Mass DCR Lakes and Ponds Division Zoom session coming up, next, Wednesday, the 23rd, not the
Mhm.
25th. And wanted to review some of the things we've got for questions at this point. Rob mentioned earlier, that, when he was at the recent meeting, they were talking about, Tom was talking about Weed Watcher. That ringing a bell? Weed Watcher and boat ramp monitoring.
We've done Weed
Well,
Watcher
so
several
that's
times.
something different. Yeah, that's something kind of new to me in that he stated during the SISMA meeting, quote, biggest bang for your buck is to have monitoring at your boat ramps. And he identified, I spoke to him after the meeting, for a $5,000 investment. And then in addition to, you need to have a drainage location with regard to the water.
Mhm.
You have heated water, I think it's 140 degrees in order to get the microscopic, but that microscopic, quite frankly, his area is all of Massachusetts. And so I think I heard that the microscopic angle with regard to the excessive heat has more to do with lakes that are challenged with regard to
Zebra mussels, I think it was zebra
Correct.
mussels, which
Yeah.
we don't
that are-
have
that are
here.
in Western.
Yeah, we don't have
So,
that.
so then what I continue to hear though was the aspect of the monitoring and I'm quite involved with some hosting of aquatic hitchhikers that don't go to the heated water, but rather go to the diligent efforts that biggest bang for the buck to insist or encourage some combination thereof, hose down your watercraft before it goes in and hose down your watercraft as it goes out, because as you're taking your trailers into the water and your boats, everything gets kind of tied up in those connecting points, etc. And he says, his experiences, they can't explain some of it could be birds, but he thinks it's more the transmission from one lake to another of our invasive problems through the failure of watercraft operators to properly, remove the water, which, I've not begun, but I hope that Park and Rec attended the first DCR call. I hope they'll be here now. I think Conscom also attended. I think these are the sort of things that DCR, being who they are, and you can, push back and poke with regard to ask your good questions from your good experiences. But if there are things that we can learn with regard to, other aspects, there's opportunities with Liz Trediak's senior tax workoff program to have people monitoring on the key days where we see excessive, or significant boat usage at our ramps. And if they're experience, so you could weigh in. So I think that's a new development, and that specifically was what I think you were referring to with regard to
Yeah,
those.
no, it's
those
an email you sent out with a
Yeah.
couple of questions, and I wasn't familiar with that, so
That's it.
that helps clarify. And do you have any idea how active our boat launch is at Long Lake?
There are many days that it is, the space that's available in the boat ramp is frequently used extensively.
Mhm.
Now, the other part that I'd say that I don't think is necessarily understood is that the shoulder seasons, we often think of the beach operation between Memorial Day and Labor Day, but in fact, the shoulder seasons, there's people out now.
Sure.
There was people out 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now, not a lot of people.
No, number of people out yesterday. That's
That's
great.
right, but they're out there. So there is good use. There is good use of it. And again, there's nobody there, and I'm not suggesting that we've got the wherewithal to have people there. But what doesn't exist yet in Salem Reed and Park and Rec with regard to some me advocating for quit blocking the signs that tell informed
Mhm.
watercraft users that what they should be doing, because right now it's completely blocked off season. Is maybe we can set up hoses, maybe we can create location. That's something I think Clean Lakes, along with Park and Rec, along with Conscom, in a future agenda, in a future, get your understanding and, you know,
Mhm.
far better than this 2 minutes that I'm giving you to consider, is it something worthwhile? What I heard seemed to come from somebody with experience that stated this is really a valuable, you know, tool.
So if you had a hose there that people could use, if you had an area where it wasn't washing back into the lake, even if you didn't have somebody there, you'd have potentially enough people using it. We know of at least one lake where several lakes, Cochituate, they pay to have somebody there, the state does. Hickory Hills is a private lake, they pay to have somebody there, but they have 300 members that each pay out of their HOA, for it, which none of us have that kind of funding. But having the hose there and the signs, presumably some people would use it. And if somebody had a different kind of invasive that we don't already have, that could prevent it from coming in. I would say nearly all of the lakes, where people are coming in have the same invasives that we have, and once it's in there, doesn't really help.
Yeah, and Tom and DCR are very much the quick reaction with regard to the first identification. They do extensive training, as I know you did in Westford, and I attended.
We've done it several times.
Yeah, so I attended one as well. So they're all about what you're speaking to.
Yeah.
They're really strong advocates, for it. And the other part that I'll just say is, the success of Clean Lakes through CPC, there's now hundreds of thousands of dollars that CPC has been a great provider with regard to the last 2 years, or the coming year, another $110,000. I believe eyebrows are really, and attention is really focused on our lakes. That's a very, very positive things in many, many groups who you're interacting with. But I also think the dollar value of what's being spent on the lakes, so hence the aspect of, if prevention is an opportunity, then these more costly aspects of eco harvesting or other, other treatments, I think the time is right for a broader discussion and understanding of what other preventative measures might be, considered.
To the question of how busy is the boat launch, I was paddling over there at 4:30, 5 o'clock.
This is Forge Pond.
Yeah, on Forge Pond, paddling over by the Beaver Brook boat launch. And maybe you know that where the boat launch is, there's a little channel that's, how long is that, Dave?
600 feet.
200 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, 600 feet.
Mhm.
There were 5 power boats waiting, idling, trying to keep themselves from drifting into the weeds,
Wow.
waiting for their turn as they one at a time back their trucks in.
Yeah.
It got lots. This was a holiday weekend now, so
Uh-huh.
on Memorial Day, July 4th.
This is not
Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day is not that bad though.
We have more traffic on the lake.
Yeah.
A lot of boats that don't.
July
live there
4th.
On this holiday
July
weekend.
4th.
Yeah, July 4th, busy.
So what you're saying is there's boats going in
But-
and out of the pond all the time that aren't there all the time, and they're bringing their
Yeah,
cooties with
well,
them.
and every day there are fishermen that put boats in, and there's several every day that'll
Yeah.
put their boats in.
So then one of the questions to ask DCR would be,
Mhm.
what would be good preventative strategies, and is there value in having a hose down? Sounds like,
Yeah, we have
Oh, they're
a
gonna
hose
say,
at Long
they're
Lake.
gonna say that the hose is
right,
is good.
Yeah.
Period.
Do you
Even
guys
if
have,
it's cold water.
you guys don't have a hose?
No.
No.
But did I hear somebody say that they don't allow signs, like any sort of signage?
No, their sign's up. He was saying that.
Oh, no, what's happening is
There's
off
things in
season,
front of
the
the-
signs are blocked, things are stacked in front of the signs.
Right, right.
So,
Okay.
well,
Do we don't have any of that.
And you don't have hoses at
We do
Spec
not.
Pond and you don't have hoses at, so this would be a
No,
Long
so
Lake
that would be
specific
something-
solution.
We would wanna
So-
upgrade
so
for.
just so
Yes.
you folks
Yeah.
know, in response to your question, that's why I attended the last CPC meeting. I tried behind the scenes to privately engage Park and Rec on the matter that I've been pursuing for over a year with them privately, in which I objected to the sailboat dock that extends 42 feet length by approximately 6 to 7 feet width by 4 to 5 feet high, that during their off-season, they block the sign that includes, it's called Fisherman Access Sign, and it blocks the signage that establishes what is avoid hitchhikers, which is what we're talking about with the
Mhm.
watering, as well as the flotation requirements that are required by law. And they obliterate it. It's not able to be seen. And so I've objected CPC, to my thanks. I was forced to appear there because the matter wasn't being addressed, as Park and Rec was requesting additional funding. And they made the future funding that will be for the Littleton town vote, they required to be contingent on solving the off-season storage problem. So there's also an order of conditions that I raised with Conscom that I believe Park and Rec is in violation of, because they have their off-season storage within the buffer zone that is specifically stated as not being allowed. So this is a coming up issue that has to be addressed, and I more or less do it from a standpoint of, it's not my personal grief to bring to them, but it's rather my concern about the hitchhikers getting in and out of Long Lake, for just one example.
So are we still on topics at the DCR?
Yes, we are, yeah.
So I think it's really important that we talk about watershed management.
I've got that here too.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to have that on the record here. That,
Yeah.
the new draft guide to lake management indicates that we are unlikely to have any success in the lake if we don't manage the watershed.
Mhm.
So I think that's an important topic we need to learn something about.
We've got that as an item.
Did we put down that we wanted to extend the conversation on where they were getting their data from?
Which data was
They
that?
had said a bunch of, like, they'd done a bunch of studies on all of these like herbicides, but we weren't followed up with on any of those studies or forms that we could take to the water department to help our case with herbicides.
Okay, well, yeah, we've got mentioned, we're kind of hoping to bring it back around to Spec Pond and.
Yeah, because
and-
that's
yeah.
our next job is to go kind of like.
Yeah.
They probably can just email us a bibliography.
I should imagine.
As
yeah.
long as I can give something that says, look here.
Yeah,
We
That's
might
all I want.
find that in footnotes or the index or whatever in the new publication.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be there
So
too.
it could very well be part of it. You say 400 some odd pages of
Yeah, 417, I think it is.
good stuff.
Yeah, I asked Kara, for some pointers to, studies that she mentioned in our first meeting with DCR regarding the binding of these chemicals, these
Oh, right,
herbicides.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And she could not remember where she got those from, but she directed me to CPRO, who are the purveyors of these chemicals,
Mhm, mhm.
and I have not gotten a response from them. So we should probably
Interesting.
drill down into that again. It may be that one of the other players in this next DCR get together can point us to something.
Yeah, I'd
That would
wanna
be very
see some
valuable.
neutral data, not from the people who make it.
Well, but they might be able
Yeah.
to cite
Yeah.
an independent study.
Yeah,
Yes,
yes. Independent study.
Well,
that's the
and,
word. Yes,
You and I were running that company, we would want to be aware of such a thing, right?
yes, of course. That's
And make
true.
sure our customers become aware of it.
They had said last time that did we talk about whether mechanical harvesting was dredging?
Oh, yeah, I think we'll get into it. We did touch on that.
I mean, we talked about it last time, but did we talk about it tonight?
We haven't talked about it tonight.
So they said that in the new GLM, they were pointing out that, they disagreed with the fact that, you know, plant harvesting was, should be considered as dredging. And when I looked to see what they had in there in the GLM
Mhm.
about that, all they said was that, the federal, Water Protection Act
Oh.
doesn't, consider, plant harvesting to be dredging. But, if, the language of Massachusetts statute 41, could be construed to, include, biomass as part of the dredging material. So that's very fuzzy, right? And they said, consult DEP to assess your particular situation. So
Yeah,
there,
well, it seems like DEP has gotten tighter and tighter, just in the past 5 years. You know, especially with the notion of removing dams and, you know, statewide and addressing all this kind of stuff. And I gather dredging or what's
yeah,
classified as dredging.
yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in asking them, is there someplace else in there that we didn't see there? You know, they said that they had pointed out the disagreement about
Oh, interesting.
that.
Yeah,
And-
well, I thought we discussed their publication a little bit.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah,
suggesting
yeah,
is,
yeah.
you know, is there someplace else in the GLM where they point out the fact that, you know, that they disagree with, the considering plant harvesting to be dredging?
But at the ready, and I thought you were going this, so I just want to clarify. Given all the work that you folks have done with regard to dredging and over the last year being exposed to this difficult process, what I heard referenced, but I also heard more at that other meeting, was really encouragement. I think it was Jim that spoke to this, really encouraging different towns and communities, because the SISMA meeting had representatives from many communities to vocalize and document their questions and their objections with regard to that dredging extension, if you will,
Mhm.
to the aspects that you're experiencing.
So they're asking for comments to drive that.
Correct. They were asking for their strength in numbers. And so if a number of communities feel the same way with regard to an overextension, if you will, of the definition of dredging, to then submit your comments by that May 15th deadline. And so while you can ask the questions during the next DCR call, I'd also encourage you to prepare for getting a comment, you know,
Yeah,
however you want to write it into them,
yeah.
with regard to
You had to sign up to comment in order to read it.
What's that?
You had to sign up to comment in order
Yes,
to read it.
you're correct.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask them about the classification of, impairment, Long Lake being impaired for dissolved oxygen and what we should be doing, to address those issues. Mill Pond, probably too late to do much. It's way beyond our scope.
Yeah,
Which
But-
pond is shown as impaired also on the state map?
Is that how it's rated?
Impaired,
Is it? I didn't know.
it is.
I mean, when these lakes, if they're called impaired because they have low O2, you know, at some point in the, you know, in the lake. If that is, you know, if there's plenty of, if that's at the bottom and there's plenty of room for, you know, the animals to be existing outside that area, it, seems like a natural process.
It does. According to the academic text we've read,
Yeah,
essentially every lake that's deep enough to have thermal turnover
Mm.
ends up with no oxygen near the bottom.
So
guess that makes sense.
yeah,
But no, it's always been disturbing to me at Long Lake that, you know, everybody, with this town beach, we had all this stuff going
I
on.
couldn't tell, and maybe because I didn't spend enough time on it, but looking at the state map, and all the lakes, they're color coded, you know, green, yellow, red, so on, and Forge Pond and Long Pond are red, yellow rather, showing impaired, and there's a thing called a TMDL or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so the TMDL is sort of a net total something,
Total maximum daily load,
daily load, right?
daily load.
And so I was trying to figure out load of what?
Yeah.
What is it about the
It's
TMDL?
always been confusing. I've tried to read up on this and I'm like, I'm baffled.
There's so many fingers and references to, I had trouble
Bless you.
working out, but I could not tell what was the one or several things that tipped Forge Pond over into being impaired.
Mhm.
It must be there somewhere, but I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, it's confusing to me too. I've been dealing with this for the last 15 years. Specifically for Spectacle Pond, if you take that as an example, we also have a dissolved oxygen problem, DO. Other ponds have dissolved oxygen, phosphorus or nutrient load of some sort.
Right.
And a TMDL, they have to issue a citation to so that it's now actionable on the part of the pond. I don't think you're cited.
To do something?
Yes, we're not cited, although we have this stain, this bad mark against the pond.
A couple of
And
years
most of the
ago,
ponds do.
a couple of years ago, Corey, Godfrey wrote some
Grant,
comment about this whole thing and how the,
Him
sooner or
being an
later, the
expert in
state
that
will in
area.
fact,
Yeah.
weigh in and say, here's our prescription for, what you have to do and, now the town has to show how they can do it, show how they can, how they will address that within certain.
In fact,
parameters.
we, Spectacle Pond doesn't have a citation, but they've been called out for this deficiency of dissolved oxygen.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that triggered Spectacle Pond and the rest of the ponds too, for that matter, into thinking about eco harvesting. Take all the biomass out, presumably
Precisely.
the DO will now improve. We continue to measure that. We'll see this year.
No, it's interesting. I also wanted to ask them, about the notion of removing sediments from outfalls, or areas around outfalls and also, beach sand management. And see if they have, I don't know if they deal with any of that. I don't know if that's, part of it, but, I thought,
I can help because part of Tom's presentation. And so I would encourage that, do it as a placeholder, but I encourage you to ask that for a subsequent session. They actually offer guidance and counseling with regard to beach renourishment. And it was mentioned by Tom to the broad community there that should anybody be interested, they'd be happy to have a separately devoted call with regard to their experience and guidance as to how they might bring their experience
okay,
with the topic. Yes.
good.
Yep.
Good. All right, well, again, the hour goes, well, the first hour went very quickly. I was like, quit talking about herbicides, let's just get to a dozen other things. But, it's important to take each topic as they come. And I don't think we'll be able to get this list squared away in the hour that we have, next Wednesday. But I think that, I'll try to submit this tomorrow, to Kara, and so she can have about a week to prepare for, the chat, and I'm looking forward to it. It should be great.
so you'll share the agenda with,
I'll send it around.
invitees?
Yeah, and also I've got to register the meeting, and so I'll send out the official Zoom link and everything for that later in the week. And once
Mhm.
once Andrew can square that away for us. So
Cool.
Is Conscom coming to this one too?
I don't know if the committee's involved. They didn't sign on for this one, but I'll check in with Tim and see if he wants to have a combined meeting with them as well, which is fine. It's just a classification from our standpoint. But yeah, that's good, and that's my list. We wanted to talk about the upcoming town meeting.
Right, so, we have, the various things that are being presented on our behalf. Two by the select board, they're doing three actually. The DPW 10,000, the 15,000, that's not tied to the, fiscal year. The, request to create the, revolving fund for Long Lake. And then, so I think those are the three, where there actually are warrant articles from, then there's also the,
CPC fund.
two CPC fund, items for, the speckled pond boat launch engineering study and the eco harvesting on Lake Matawanaki.
At last year's town meeting, didn't that one just go through as part of the whole bulk?
Yeah.
Like, nobody had to speak
did.
on anything?
Nobody.
That was one of the first
Yeah.
ones, right? They threw stuff out there and said, everything okay?
Yeah,
gone.
Karen,
Yeah,
do you
so-
think that like request for revolving funds, will that be part of one of those bigger things that will probably just get passed through?
We haven't had our meeting yet.
Okay,
with
so you don't know
him
what the
to
warrant
know
is.
What
Okay.
he's planning on putting in the consent agenda.
Oh, okay, the consent agenda, right?
But, don't all of them get highlight, doesn't he ask about each one of them, or each warrant?
So he'll go through as moderator and decide which ones he think could possibly qualify.
Oh, he'll leave some, he won't ask about some, because he'll know that some
Right, some of them,
will clearly need to be discussed.
exactly, but then he'll go, just like you said, he'll go through the others that he thinks might qualify, and
Yeah.
unless somebody objects,
Yeah,
they'll be included.
so, Cammy, I think the point is that, yes, it's highly likely that these items will not attract
Right.
attention and will not even come up. But there's always the chance that somebody says, wait a minute, what's that? What's that about? We want to talk about it. And
Especially when
then,
it has the word fund.
Yeah, and yeah, we've never paid for Clean Lakes before. I mean,
Well, your
As a matter of
biggest
fact, they
dirty,
have all
yeah,
along.
exactly, and that's what,
Hasn't hurt
that's
like
what
it
would
does
be
now.
explained is, we're looking to make the process a little more transparent, et cetera, but.
right, so we should be prepared to talk about all of those things if we're called on to do that.
Mhm.
I would be ready to talk about the eco harvesting on Matawanaki. I assume you'd be ready to talk about.
Can we,
boat launch on Spec Pond.
provide artifacts, like slides?
I think that's hard to coordinate.
No, this is more like if there's Q and A.
Cause I got this great picture, the one with me standing on the slope.
Yes, yeah.
That'll sell it.
Sure.
Stand there.
If
Just
Tim-
put it towards. the-
If Tim Goddard does it like in the past, to limit the responses and the questions to be 3 minutes timed on the screens, et cetera. So just be aware, you won't have an unlimited amount of time to make your points.
and it's usually if just someone like objects, like, what's this $10,000 for the Clean Lakes to, right? And then someone has to go up and,
Address it. Yeah, it's
Address
not
it,
like,
yeah.
not like you get the Academy Awards, opportunity to go up and
right,
thank everybody you know, and then,
Yes.
while the music starts. And
Yeah.
So-
cut to a commercial.
So-
You like me, you really like me.
So would you be prepared to talk about the others?
I'd be happy to talk about anything that comes up.
Yes.
I mean, I think, formally the water department budget is also part of this, or is it not?
Water is in here, yeah.
So that would also, so the sixth thing would be the spectral pond, allocation from the water department.
Mhm.
But just a point about those, often you see them identified as the expenses or they're grouped. I'm not certain that I don't personally expect to see a 10K listing in the warrant, although I haven't seen it. And similar with the water, I don't recall, maybe you folks do, I don't recall seeing a line item delineation with regard to 108,500 within the water department associated with the lakes. But I'd say we'll all receive it 14 days
When
in the
does it come
mail,
out?
and we can get it in advance.
Next
It's
week?
online now.
Oh,
Oh,
it
is
is?
it? Okay.
Oh,
It is.
It's right.
So, yeah, I agree with Rob there. I think it's unlikely that anybody's gonna pull out a question on lakes out of any of the operating budgets or revolving budgets. I think if there's questions, they'll be more likely to be on the CPC article, on the Clean Lakes article, the maintenance article to 15 grand, or the revolving fund establishment. For the revolving fund and the maintenance needs, I am POC for select board. And so then it would be, everybody would look at me and I would look at whoever you tell me to look at,
And
and I'll give a quick explanation and then you can, say whatever
I mean,
else
what the
needs
town
to be
may not have
said.
heard is, 20 years ago, we voted for the cell tower fund and to make that available to Clean Lakes. That is no longer due to state reinterpretation of the law. That's no longer available to Clean Lakes. So we've been looking for funding sources. And that's what this is. You're seeing a more transparent view of that.
Yeah.
right?
For,
That's-
for some reason, it's no longer available to us.
For some reason.
It's not the state requirement. It's a town decision.
Okay, right.
Even though it was not rescinded, and the town vote was not rescinded, but effectively it has changed.
Except the water guys, well, I mean, we have this argument again, right? The water guys will be like, no, the state changed the law.
No,
right?
they don't,
That's right. We're not talking about that any further.
Right.
Other than us, who's gonna remember anyway?
Right.
we should
Minutia,
remember.
man.
We should
minutia.
remember.
It's all the details.
Remember the cell tower?
Well, they stick to it. They were always
Make sure.
sure your guns,
Make sure.
Tory and, right?
You said t-shirts as a fundraiser again?
It's just like
Hey, can we have some t-shirts made very quickly, too.
The,
days ago for a fundraiser.
Yeah.
So,
there'll be a face card on the
Protesting is coming on strong now all of a
Your
sudden.
legs.
Seems to be the time. So, and speaking of time, we're winding down.
We're
here.
cruising, man.
Wondering if we could set a date for our next meeting.
Yep.
It's awfully nice not taking on the world and going, okay,
Yeah.
on page 3.
So town meeting is.
May 6th.
May
So it's in
6th.
3 weeks. 1, 2,
What date?
3.
No, May
May 6th.
May 6th.
6th.
I'm not gonna be here.
Oh, no, it's, wait,
Is it Tuesday? It's Tuesday, right?
May 6th.
May 6th, yeah.
Not gonna be here.
Mark your calendars a little earlier.
Playing golf?
Going up, going away. I have my 40th wedding anniversary.
Hey, no kidding. Where you headed?
Down in Newport, Rhode Island for the week.
Nothing
Oh,
like that.
nice.
Spent a few days in one of the
Yeah,
mansions.
the 3 days. Instead of going on the weekend and dealing with all the people, Tuesday.
Checking
Wednesday,
up on one of
Thursday.
his houses. down
That's
there.
it. That's it.
The
One of
breakers.
the- one of the cottages.
The breakers.
You're not splitting up now.
Oh, it's all over.
Oh.
I was only 21.
Whoa.
No kidding. And it worked.
Yeah.
You guys are still hanging in there.
Yeah,
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
thanks.
So what day are we talking about?
May 6th, town meeting starts at 7.
Yeah,
I hope everybody who can will show up at 6. They're going to be doing a presentation on the Shaker Lane project in the middle school cafeteria,
Oh, yeah?
and that will be available for Q&A as well. So remember the last one that they did before town meeting was just the presentation itself, but this one will have time for Q&A.
What's the other big thing that's gonna happen? What are we, for a town meeting coming up?
This town meeting doesn't have Shaker Lane.
What's coming
There's
up?
no big vote. There's
This
nothing.
I think
They're
that-
all
Orchard,
big,
maybe?
Tammy.
I know, but is there gonna
No,
be
I
like
think
the
there's
big
one thing that I
controversy?
was,
Down in the orchard being,
Orchard wasn't in my mind.
So we put the ones that we thought might require more discussion up front.
So does that presentation, does that show up in the warrant or not?
So, the information about it is right there, is gonna be right on the cover of the report.
Oh,
But that's all that you'll get on the warrant.
Yeah,
it'll be on the cover of the warrant.
mhm,
Oh,
the
okay.
information for the meeting. So, there's gonna be, some. Again, things are fluid, but, town hall. And what.
Oh, I
the
don't wanna
future of
do that.
town
That,
hall.
I don't wanna, I don't
Um,
wanna play that game with Sal.
Things are fluid. Things are fluid. It
What about
probably
town hall?
will not look like,
Well,
excuse
she
me.
can tell you better than I can.
so
There's
it won't,
33 articles.
it won't look like, on the floor, we don't expect to bring what's in the report. We're gonna be making some changes and cutting back. You'll be happy to hear.
I hope to hear, cause we're talking about, like, I don't know, a brief summary of what I've kind of heard. Give this to Sal Sal's gonna make us a spot over there that we have to rent. I'm not sure if we have to rent
Over
it
at
or not,
IBM?
over at the IBM. Why would we get rid of this building?
No,
It's-
no, no, no. no,
Okay,
no,
oh,
no.
I'm glad to hear that, then.
Yeah, here we go.
I'm glad, because that's been the rumor for a little bit.
Yeah, no, the plan would be, because this is Town Hall is all that's left in this whole complex, right? As soon as the senior center opens.
That's what,
And all of, on Shattuck Street and all these, wings,
And the
it's
building.
just Town Hall that's left
left what?
in here.
'Cause Park and
occupied.
Oh,
Rec
in
will
the,
be
in the
at
building.
Parks and Rec
Oh.
is moving out to
Yeah,
Indian, everyone's moving out except for, Town Hall. So we need a plan for Town Hall.
Is it not okay to stay here?
No, is the short answer. Not
It's not
long term.
ADA compliant, like there's lots of things.
It's not ADA compliant.
I was gonna say.
If we renovated it, we would be paying as much as we would to build a brand new building. So the idea is that we would swap this property for property at 550 King, which we would own.
Okay.
And
That's the IBM site.
and or any other developer. We don't know of any other developer who's interested in this kind of deal, but if they are, we'd love to hear it. But if it's assuming it's 550 King, then it would be a 550 King and we would own the property. The developer would build us the shell of the building, including the mechanicals inside. And we would move in there. And the developer would make deeply affordable senior housing on this property, 40 units.
Wow.
Yeah,
But he would sell it and keep the money, right?
no, you can't sell it.
No. Oh, so this here, affordable, who gets the money from the elderly?
Oh, this is not a moneymaker.
No?
No, deeply affordable senior housing is, people who are making
And if
like
they can do that, why couldn't
12,000
we
or
do it?
less.
Well, I think it's 30. I
Is it?
attended the presentation.
Is it 30?
I think it's
For a
30
couple.
I think it's 38.
30 for a couple.
I don't think
But
we've
that is
landed
to
on the
say-
date yet.
Oh,
The
okay.
So I can
deeply
actually
discounted
answer how you would
30%
do that. How would you redo this place?
Media.
In an affordable way. I would have you look up New View and what they did with the elementary school in Fitchburg.
Is it just like,
It's just New
it's
View.
not NUVU or anything?
It's
New View?
it's like NEWVIEW. Anyway,
Okay,
they do a lot of like community work, advocacy, things like that. They bought that town elementary school and it is now an active living arts apartments. There's about 100 units. There's space where these people can own their art. If you want a tour, I have the director. It's an amazing project. Absolutely phenomenal. And it was all through grants, funding, different things like that they did through the state. Really impressive project. Absolutely beautiful. They left like the lockers in there, the gymnasium, and they went through like historical conservation. They got grants through that too. So it was a huge project, but really, really amazing. I see that would probably be how they would fund this place if they did something like that.
Would the town buy the land there? Would the town pay to have the building built?
no, the town would not be paying for the shell. The town would not be paying for the land under the shell.
Hmm.
The town
What
would
does the
be,
developer get
swapping.
the developer gets this building?
gets to build his 40 deeply affordable senior housing units that are required
Are
in the
those-
special permit,
Are those rentals or are those?
Oh, so that would mean that would tick his box.
NEWVUE.
BUE. I knew it wasn't gonna be
Sounds like
spelled
a-
straight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Someone's
it's
getting a deal.
communities.
Someone's
mean-
say that again.
Yeah.
So,
NEWVUE and then communities.
so
That
they'll
sounds
either
interesting.
probably be built here or they won't be built, is the long and short of it.
Yeah.
And we'll either end up needing to move to a new town hall later at our own expense completely, or potentially this. But I don't think I think we're gonna be taking a baby step instead of a bigger step for this town meeting.
So would
Okay,
these
so
things be
all
rentals
of
or would
that
they be
is the
like
same.
something if somebody buys like a condo?
No rentals.
Oh,
Yeah.
so they would own it, they would rehab it, and then they would be renting it out.
The developer would be partnering with somebody who does this kind of thing, and they would be owning it with or they would be running it with a management plan and management
Who
company.
owns the land underneath?
Not us anymore,
Not us anymore, huh?
no.
But we would own the
But
land
we would
where the
own
new
land
town hall is.
under the town hall, the new town hall,
But do we still own the land underneath the community center and the library?
yes.
How about the ball fields?
Ball fields are interesting.
We could
Parks
play
and-
like, we
Parks
could
and
play
Rec
like
is-
down there at the Honda dealership, okay? Honda dealership, Roddy Palmer down there.
We
He
don't own the
owns,
Honda dealership.
no, he owns the land underneath. And lets the people rent above.
Will this be on the Tuesday select board agenda with regard to an update?
Yes.
All right, what date are we meeting next? So town meeting is the
This is a
sixth.
good question.
13th, 20th?
Are there any activities for getting herbicide that you would need the larger group for? Given your tight timeline.
I don't think, I mean, we'll be coordinating with Solitude offline.
Yeah.
And
That's gonna be both.
our trajectory with the conservation commissions is independent of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
But you were asking, whether you have current herbicide permits for Long Lake.
Right.
and-
Right, and it may just be that they're standing permits at this point. I mean, they weren't slashed. We just had them amended for
So
mechanical
these
harvesting.
Water Protection Act permits last for 3 years, and after 3 years, they have to be
So
extended.
maybe Tim could look into that
Been-
with
been
regard to
2 years.
Long Lake.
Well, he had asked Nick to check to have somebody do it.
Yeah, they've got all that stuff, the water department
Okay.
have always dealt with that, so.
So,
We'll get results on that. We might be scrambling to put that together too. So, but what's a good looking date? The 20th?
13th or 20th, I would say.
Okay, I'm leaning towards the 20th. My little sister is gonna be in town from Berkeley on the 13th.
Mhm.
13th doesn't work for me. I'm leaning towards the 20th.
I'm with Steve. Everybody like the 20th?
My wife has cataract surgery, but that's okay.
Hey, she'll be great.
Is it?
Isn't that kind of routine stuff these days?
No.
Never.
No.
Well, yeah,
It
they
is
do it
exciting.
all day long, but
It is unless it's your eyes.
that's right.
No, it's the 20th. Is it at 6:30?
Let's call it the 20th. Float that, and 6:30 seems to be working, right?
Mhm.
And is it here?
Here,
Okay.
before it becomes elderly housing. We'll squeeze in a few more meetings with the craft room here.
That was the other important thing I didn't mention. This whole thing is gonna take like 5 years. It requires special legislation. It requires all sorts of stuff, so. Nothing that happens at town meeting in May this year puts us on a path of no return.
This is a plus.
That's what you guys always say.
That's why you keep voting for me.
That's why I keep,
Chuck, are we adjourning or not, Chuck?
Check.
Are we adjourning or not?
oh, motion to adjourn?
Second that.
I think we'll figure that's covered. Thank you all for coming out.